Busyness is really tricky because it lets us appear to everybody else that we are very connected, deeply connected to so many different things that are going on. All while we are just completely disconnected from the source of life, from ourselves, and from anyone else. Remaining connected to Jesus takes intentionality and it takes time. And those are two things, intentionality and time, that we don't have when we're constantly going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, constantly distracting ourselves from any moment of reflection or deep processing or connection. So what do we do about that? Again, during this series, I'm trying to offer simple practices to start to help getting out of or giving up whatever distraction or thing that prevents us from rest that we're talking about this week. But I don't want it to seem like these are just like easy things to just implement and, oh, you're done and everything's fine. If it were that easy, you wouldn't be in the position that you were in with zero time and a schedule so full that every time you realize it, you're just waking up to start the day over again. But I think these are things that begin to give us handles to push into what life could look like with rest and connection to God without these things taking over our lives. So what are ways for us to begin to give up busyness? I think an easy first one is commit to a season of saying no. I often hear a lot about people committing to a season of saying yes to whatever comes into their life, which is great. I mean, often more than not, that's what I need to do. But I think it's just as valid to set some boundaries for yourself and give yourself permission to say no for a season of time. I had a friend that was just so overcommitted that they just decided for a year they were going to say no to anything that new that was offered to them. And it was interesting how quickly they started to love it, but how awkward and weird it was at first to just tell people like, no, and I'm sorry, I don't have a reason for you beyond I'm just not doing anything new this year. My friend was honestly surprised how okay with that most people are. A lot of times, like I said earlier, we're scared to offend or disappoint people by saying no. And if you just tell people like, my life's too full right now, I'm just trying to scale back a little bit, you'll be surprised how open people are to that. And often they're like, wow, that's a really great idea. I should probably do that same thing. So the first is just commit to a season of saying no. Don't take on anything new. Quit trying to please other people. Reclaim your life. The second, this is a practice that we've been talking about for pretty much every week this series, but practice Sabbath. Did I say this is a Sabbath we've been talking about? It doesn't matter. Practice Sabbath. And these are the points that I've put up every single week, but we're going to alter it a little bit for this week. But they are pick a day to just be off of social media completely. Pick 3 to 4 hours of that day to be completely screen-free. And during that time, plan some things that you enjoy to do. The idea is to keep it simple so that you'll actually do it and not overcomplicate it. But when you are stuck in busyness, if you set aside a day for yourself, particularly 3 to 4 hours to just do something you enjoy, you're going to fill it up with stuff. That's just your natural inclination is to go, 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 which is why you're in the position that you're in. So, as part of your Sabbath practice, but it's its own practice in and of itself, incorporate stillness, silence, and solitude into your life, which again is far easier for me to just say than it is to do. But work up to spending an hour, at least 60 minutes, not doing anything, being still, being silent, and if you can, get away by yourself. You can spend this time writing or processing, but you need to set aside the time to be alone and silent and still, to give yourself space to just be alone with your thoughts and to give yourself the space to be alone with God. Again, process, reflect, write, whatever helps you connect to what's actually going on inside of you and God. This is going to be really scary if you're avoiding something. But I think if you can slowly push into this and slowly slow down, it will bear fruit in your life. And finally, this isn't so much a practice as just something I want to encourage you to do, and probably seems really obvious, but you have to face head on what you're avoiding. And it's going to take, oftentimes, some time of scaling things back and giving yourself space to process and sort out what that is. But at the end of the day, whatever you're filling your life to avoid is not going to go away by you covering your ears and closing your eyes and saying, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. I want to encourage you to quit running yourself into the ground. Quit wasting your life avoiding whatever it is. Because at the end of your life, it's still going to be there. And I don't want you to look back and say, like, I've spent my life avoiding this thing and it's still, like, for what? Obviously, that thing is overwhelming or you wouldn't be avoiding it. And I'm not saying this will be easy. It won't. Quite frankly, it won't. For me, during that season that I was telling you about, I was absolutely avoiding an addiction that I just did not want to admit that I had and did not know how to begin to even do anything about. But I did eventually. And it ended up not being this huge, scary thing. It was super hard. But I was strong enough to do it with help. Whatever's going on in your life is not too big for you to handle, especially with the help of friends or pastors or counselors. Your life is worth pushing into how hard it will be to overcome the thing that you're avoiding. And you will enjoy your life so much more on the other side.